They were taken from their families at the age of 7 and were not allowed to look back. From that day on, they would never see their mothers, their fathers, or their villages again. They were officially considered the Sultan's slaves, yet even grand viziers were forced to listen to them. They were not ordinary soldiers. They were the most powerful and most feared military class of the empire. They belonged to the state, but over time they became a force that even the state itself feared. The Janissaries were bound to a closed institution called the Okak. The Okak was their family, their home, and their entire identity. The word Okak literally means hearth, symbolizing fire and home, and it represented the barracks as their only life. They received lifelong salaries and collected loot during major campaigns, but marriage was strictly forbidden. They became the wealthiest soldiers of the empire, yet lived like the most dangerous prisoners. When the Ottoman Empire introduced the devshirme system in the 1400s, it had no equal in history. Under the system, the strongest and healthiest boys were selected from Christian families. These children were forcibly taken to Istanbul and completely separated from their families. Families cried in despair, and villages that resisted were burned as punishment. The system was ruthless and showed no mercy. The children were converted to Islam, taught Turkish, and given entirely new identities. For years, they were trained for only one purpose: to become warriors. During the nearly 15 years of training, they practiced for 12 hours every single day. They rose at dawn and trained until sunset, shooting arrows, wielding swords, and learning discipline. They lived inside the Okak, and the barracks became the only home they ever knew. A Janissary earned 11 AKC as a monthly salary. This amount was nearly double what Sipahis and ordinary soldiers earned. Loot from major campaigns sometimes exceeded an entire year's salary. During the conquest of Belgrade, Janissaries who earned thousands of AKC were recorded in official documents. Many became wealthy before the age of 40, yet had no freedom to spend their wealth. There was a lesser-known truth. Janissaries also held secret duties within the cities. When fires broke out, they were the first to respond, working as firemen with hand pumps. They maintained public order and were used as labor forces in major construction projects. Janissary units actively worked on the building of mosques and roads. These duties provided extra income and allowed them to remain closely connected to the public. If their wages were considered insufficient, they overturned their food cauldrons, signaling open rebellion. This act meant we no longer obey the Sultan. At times, the Sultan himself was forced to leave the palace and offer apologies. The Turkish expression, to overturn the cauldron, still used today, comes from this act and means open defiance of authority. In 1622, when Sultan Osman II attempted reforms, he was killed by the Janissaries. Some sultans were even reduced to begging them for loyalty. In marketplaces, Janissaries shopped first, and no one dared oppose them. In courts, their testimonies could influence even a judge's final decision. Another hidden source of income for Janissaries was bribery. Merchants and caravans paid them for protection. Some earned several times their official salary through this system. Marriage was officially forbidden, but over time, this rule collapsed. Secret marriages increased, and some began enrolling their own children as Janissaries. When they died, their property did not go to their families, but directly to the Okak. Because they marched at the front lines, their death rates in war were extremely high. Many died young and never returned. Those who survived, however, became legends and spread fear wherever they went. This life was never a choice. It was a fate imposed by force. They began as slaves, but transformed into a power that controlled the empire. The story of the Janissaries remains one of the greatest contradictions in history. In 1826, the Janissary Corps was abolished and officially erased from history. Yet for 300 years, the Ottoman Empire rose on their shoulders. As we trace the lives long lost to time, continue this journey by subscribing.